Well, the weather held out in Tampa last night. Let's take a look at the forecast over the next 20 minutes. Well, as usual, you can expect a bright and sunny outlook. Expect also a few raised temperatures, possibly a few storm-like conditions. That should calm down and even out by the end, though. We're looking at a calm and measured conclusion, but make sure you take a brolly. Keep an eye out for some angry, intermittent showers over this orange anomaly here. Back to the studio for WrestleMania 37 Night 2 Graded. We start night 2 pretty much the same way we started night 1. National anthem, big music video, cheers from the crowd. Except this time your hosts, Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan, are dressed as pirates. You can tell who is the Jack Sparrow and who is the Jackass here, because Titus gets a lot of cheers from the crowd and Hogan, not so much. First match proper, it's The Fiend versus Randy Orton. Starting hot with this one. Fiend we see walking through this corridor, and as he walks through, he turns back from crispy fried Fiend into the old school Fiend. He's regenerated, according to Michael Cole. In the ring, Randy Orton, all dressed in white, is awaiting the arrival of his opponent. Alexa Bliss comes out instead, and she turns the handle on a massive Jack in the Box. Because The Fiend. At the end of the dun 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 dun, his music starts up, and here he comes, rising out of the Jack in the Box. It's the regenerated Fiend, and he leaps off the box onto Randy Orton with a clothesline. And from here, it's a dominant display for The Fiend. He is invincible. Orton tries to do the backdrop on the announce table. Fiend doesn't sell it. Straight in there with the mandible claw. He manages to no-sell 2 draping DDTs. Orton looking for the RKO. Can't quite hit it. And as Fiend goes for Sister Abigail, lights go weird again. Suddenly sat on top of the Jack in the Box is Alexa Bliss. And she's got black goo running down her face. It's quite the visual. And this distracts The Fiend. He's just staring up at her as this is happening. And in this moment, Randy Orton grabs the opportunity to, boom, hit an RKO. And 1, 2, 3, pin The Fiend. Right. And that's it. That's your opening match. Randy Orton leaves. The Fiend and Alexa Bliss stare each other down. Lights go out. Lights come up. Everyone's gone. Crowd boos. Ooh. I went back and forth on this. I've got to give this a D. This wasn't an interesting match at all. This was quite a disappointing finish. It felt quite flat in the venue as well. I get, like, not giving Drew the big win on the opening night of WrestleMania Night 1, but I feel weird to have another night that starts with a heel win. Didn't sit quite right here. I'll see where they go with this. We'll all keep an eye on where they go with this thing. It seems like maybe Alexa Bliss is controlling the Fiend. I've heard some rumor and innuendo online that this isn't even the actual Fiend. This is Bo Dallas dressed as the Fiend. Whoa. Story's intriguing going into it, but I've got to grade this as I see it, and this was a D, I'm afraid. That's a shame. Not a great start to night 2. Bayley once again hanging out with WWE Hall of Famers and just being brilliant. She is a star of WrestleMania, and we'll talk more about her later on. Back in the ring, the women's tag team titles on the line. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax defending against the Trainers. That's what I'm calling them, the Trainers. Because Natalya trains the young wrestlers, and Tamina is a train. The Trainers. You can have that. Hey, there's a lot of love for Tamina tonight. Big cheers and chants for Tamina as she squares up to Nia Jax early on. Challengers do all right. They get a good start in, but Baszler manages to push back, lands a nasty knee to the jaw on Natalya. Tamina gets slammed outside just as this is happening as well, so the champs are really starting to put the pressure on here. Natalya's all on her own because Tamina's been wiped out outside the ring. She gets her leg worn down and she gets dropped by that weird Nia powerbomb that always looks terrifying. Tamina manages to save Natalya from certain doom there, thankfully. We then see Tamina get the hot tag. Tamina Mania runs wild out of the station. She just unloads on everything moving. She ends up getting into a bit of a back and forth with Nia Jax, and Jax manages to take control. Jax is screaming in the face of Tamina, swearing as well, naughty. And Tamina eventually has enough of this. She picks up Nia Jax and slams her. It's our new Hogan-Andre moment, and I'll hear nothing more about it. Peacock, if you're editing stuff, put that in instead of Hogan Andre's Power Slam from WrestleMania 3. Just to annoy people, just to make me and Ross happy. That'd be amazing. Tamina misses a Superfly splash, however. Makes a tag to Natalya, who manages to get some momentum back in this. Goes for a sharpshooter on Nia Jax, but she doesn't know that Shayna Baszler has made the little secret tag. So she goes to all the trouble of getting Jax over for the sharpshooter, but it doesn't matter because Shayna's legal. And she puts the clutch on Natalya when she doesn't see it coming. And Natalya gives up in the clutch, and the champs retain the titles. I'm giving this a B-. I thought this was very entertaining. Sad about the finish. I think it would have been a nice night to have had Tamina and Natalya become the champs. I feel like this crowd would have ate that up. But regardless, it was what it was. I thought everybody really worked hard here. I thought this was a really entertaining match. I'm sure there'll be divisive opinions all over, but personally, I thought this was one of the better women's tag team title matches of the last 6 months. Since Sasha Banks and Bayley stopped being the workhorses of the division, the quality has fallen. This was one of the better ones, I have to say. Banks and Bayley, you guys were great at this. Sami Zayn takes on Kevin Owens next. Logan Paul is ringside and JBL is on commentary. Ross is having a dream with WrestleMania Night 2 and a nightmare because Tamina didn't win, but you get the idea. Owens obliterating Sami from the off in this one. Tide turns after Sami hits a brainbuster on the apron. They start trading big moves after the brainbuster on the apron. We see Owens landing a frog splash, Sami Zayn landing a blue thunder bomb, and a Michinoku driver that Michael Cole called a blue thunder bomb. I told him I wouldn't say that, but I did. Sorry, MC. Owens counters a superplex with a gorgeous twisting suplex off the top. Sami gets back quickly into this, hits a haluva kick, and they reenact the finish they had from their match at Battleground all those years ago. It was when Owens was the heel and Sami was the face, and Sami gives him a haluva kick. Back then, gave him a haluva kick. Owens collapsed into his arms, and Sami props up Kevin Owens, steps back, gives him one more. They reenact that with Sami playing a blinder here, back just almost reenacting it almost perfectly, except as he runs at him for the second haluva kick, Owens bang in there with a super kick to take Sami Zayn's heat off. After this, Owens picks up Sami, looks at him and says, "You did this," because this whole thing is as a result of Sami Zayn's weird conspiracy theories. Kevin Owens says, "You did this," hits a stunner. 1, 2, 3. Kevin Owens beats Sami Zayn. Logan Paul gets into the ring afterwards to check on Sami Zayn. He then goes over and congratulates Kevin Owens, which was pretty nice. And Sami Zayn is livid about this, gets in the face of Logan Paul, gives him a shove, and Paul shoves him back. Massive boos from the crowd. We are not getting over Logan Paul as a face. That's fine. Sami Zayn leaves in a huff, and Logan Paul raises the hand of Kevin Owens. Kev thinks about it for a bit, drinks it all in, hits Logan Paul with a stunner. Biggest pop of the night so far. It's a B+. I thought these guys did great. It was great to see this long-time feud played out at a WrestleMania where it deserves to be. Also, Logan Paul knows there is money in him getting beaten up. So, took a stunner really well from Kevin Owens here. Riddle has a back and forth with the Great Khali and Rob Van Dam. And Rob Van Dam gives them some of his RVD branded roll-ups as a little gift. It's funny because they're stoned and he's tall. Riddle and Sheamus for the United States Championship next. Riddle's pigeons have pirate hats on because WrestleMania. That's a sentence I said in a wrestling review. Pretty much all of Sheamus is in this match. Like, Sheamus dominates very early on in this. Riddle turns the tide when he counters a top rope dive with a running up overhead belly-to-belly suplex a la Kurt Angle. He hits a jackhammer as well, just for bants. Sam Driver resisted the urge to tweet Goldberg, so I think Goldberg would have been out there in a shot if he'd heard it. Sheamus counters a springboard with a massive knee to take control once again. We see an Asai moonsault from Riddle outside the ring to put Riddle back in control. They go back and forth like this. We see Sheamus deadlift slams, slamming Riddle off an armbar. A jostle on the top ropes late into this. See Sheamus slip on the top rope. He was going for an avalanche white noise, but obviously he lost his footing. He ended up just giving him a regular white noise instead. Riddle goes for a springboard moonsault, trying to push back into this, and this is where the night is done for Riddle. As he tries to get a bit of momentum going, he does a springboard off the ropes and eats a brogue kick. Perfectly planted in his mush from Sheamus. 1, 2, 3. We have a brand new United States champion in Sheamus. B+ here. These two have great chemistry. This was not the greatest match they've ever had. It was certainly very close to the match they had on Raw late last year. I thought this was a very, 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 very good match as well. Another heel victory at WrestleMania. So far, the only goodie that's won is Kevin Owens. And he had to stun a Logan Paul to really get that reaction out of people as well. I guess stunning Logan Paul accounts for 5 babyface victories maybe. But a lot of baddies going over tonight. Big E versus Apollo Crews next for the Intercontinental Championship in a Nigerian drum fight. What's a Nigerian drum fight? Well, it's a hardcore match with some drums and gongs and stuff around the outside. I mean, it's great to see them all there, adds to the aesthetic, but they tend to go with kendo sticks, tables and steps in this match instead. I guess they're like those plastic apples that you get in food bowls at IKEA. You're not really meant to do anything with them. They just sort of add to the ambience. We see kendo stick shots back and forth in the early going of this match. Big E takes over with that spear through the ropes. It just looks ace every single time he does it. Apollo's comeback begins with a Death Valley driver on the apron. He tries to impale Big E with the steel steps at one point, but E manages to avoid it, and he drops Apollo Crews onto the steps off the apron, Uranagi style. That was a really nice spot, that was. The end of this comes with Crews going for a frog splash through the table. Big E moves out the way, lands the big ending, and it's looking good for our boy Big E until the artist formerly known as Dabba Kato turns up in military attire. He batters Big E, chokeslams him, drapes Apollo over the top. 1, 2, 3. Apollo Crews is the Intercontinental Champion. And we have ourselves the return to TV of Dabba Kato. This truly is Ross's WrestleMania, isn't it? He loves a bit of Dabba Kato, does Ross. B+, again, a really solid match with these guys. I don't think it was quite enough there to put it into the A bracket. Certainly an improvement on their last pay-per-view match, thankfully. And I'm very intrigued to see Apollo Crews as IC champion and to see this relationship with the artist formerly known as Dabba Kato that we'll no doubt get some explanation for on SmackDown. The Raw Women's Championship on the line. Rhea Ripley challenges Asuka, and Ripley is intense in this one. It's a gritty affair. Ripley mockingly taunting Asuka at big points in this match, slapping her in the face, trash talking her, trying to get the fight out of Asuka throughout a lot of this. Really struggles as Asuka to get into this for a good long while. A DDT off the apron puts paid to that. She gets into it after hitting that. It was a really nice looking DDT. But we kind of get the vibe that this match might have been cut short, because a lot of spots seem to very quickly happen from here and there's no real consequence to them, if you see what I mean. We see Ripley countering Asuka's sliding knee into a prism trap, which looked really nice. Asuka turned that into an armbar. Ripley broke out of that by deadlifting from the armbar. End of this match comes though with Asuka landing some kicks to Ripley and Ripley just saying, bring it on, please give me some more kicks, thank you very much. It ends up with a big kick coming at Ripley, Ripley catching the foot, turning it into a riptide for the 1, 2, 3. And Rhea Ripley is the new Raw Women's Champion. This match is a B. It felt slower initially, and it also felt shorter than it should have been. It kind of felt like there was maybe the time was taken away from them a little bit. I'd like to see them do a bit more. But what they did was hard hitting, it was gritty, it was intense. And you know what? I'm happy to see Rhea Ripley as the Raw Women's Champion. I think it started something quite shiny and new for that women's division. Asuka had an incredible reign, but that division, I feel like, has lost its way a little bit, and maybe someone like a Rhea Ripley can bring it back. Titus O'Neil and Hogan come out. They're interrupted by Bayley, who's demanding that she is thanked for WrestleMania. She demands her pyro. She's just cool. Here is our Bayley. The Bella Twins come out, And Bayley gets in their face, making some comments about John Cena to Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella knocks the taste out of Bayley's mouth. They end up, the Bella twins, beating up Bayley and throwing her down the ramp. She rolls down the ramp as Titus O'Neil, Hogan and the Bella twins all raise their hands. Boos from the crowd for the attack on Bayley. They measured that wrong. Bayley has been a star of the night here. And I think they felt that as soon as they did that spot and the boos came down. They just became Titus, Hogan and the Bellas became like the ultimate heel faction in that moment. But a lot of people are upset that Bayley didn't get a match on this show. And yeah, it would have been nice if Bayley had something meaty to get her teeth into for this. I pitched last year that this should be the night that Bayley and Sasha Banks finish up their feud. But things happened very differently. I love what they did with Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Bayley was on 2 nights of WrestleMania, hobnobbing and grandstanding with the NWO, Eric Bischoff, Titus O'Neil, Hulk Hogan, and it's just in the mix with everybody, and the Bella Twins, of course. I feel like I think even though she hasn't wrestled, I think her stock has gone up. And so we come to the main event of WrestleMania 37 Night 2, the triple threat match for the Universal Championship. It's Edge and Daniel Bryan challenging Roman Reigns. And Roman drops Daniel Bryan with a right hand immediately off the beginning of this match. Roman throws Edge from the ring, and it's there where he gets a super kick from Jey Uso. It's anything goes, no disqualification. Edge will rally from this though. He ends up taking Jey out of the picture with an execution onto the steel steps. A load of medics help Jey Uso off. It's carnage to start off with, straight away. As Jey's been taken away, Edge and Daniel Bryan have their first proper showdown one-on-one. And we get a little taste of how good these two can really work together. They go back and forth with some big stuff. Roman waits outside the ring to pick his spot to jump in. When he does pick his spot, he ends up getting knocked out of the ring again. Bless him. Bryan does attempt to dive on Roman, ends up getting suplexed to the floor for his trouble, and then we get Edge and Roman exchanging in the ring from there. Both hitting spears simultaneously to end that part of the match, which was a spot we were all waiting for. Daniel Bryan re-enters. He's then leathering Roman and Edge with yes kicks. He puts the yes lock in on Roman Reigns. Roman's able to escape it. Roman, and then this once again goes out of the ring, and Roman starts taking over on Daniel Bryan. And as fans rain down on Reigns with boos, Roman Reigns powerbombs Daniel Bryan through the announce table. A hell of a moment. And as Roman Reigns is in his pomp, following that move, Edge bursts into existence, spears him off right to the floor. Big love for that moment. That was a lovely little spear just out of nowhere. We then get Edge and Roman fighting in the ring. Edge puts a crossface on Roman Reigns using a lead pipe to really ram it home. Daniel Bryan, by this point, has recovered from the powerbomb spot through the table. He gets back into the ring and applies a yes lock to Roman as well. So Edge and Daniel Bryan both applying a submission move to Roman. And what a great allegory for this whole match. Edge has Roman on the ropes. Daniel Bryan inserts himself, and you just see the anger in Edge's face. They start headbutting each other to break it all up. Edge lands 2 big spears. Daniel Bryan onto Roman Reigns, and as it looks like he's going to beat Roman, Daniel pulls the referee out of the ring to stop the count. Edge loses it at this point. He's got a steel chair, and he takes that chair, and he wipes out Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns with it. He goes to get some more chairs. Looks like he's going to give everybody a concerto. He gives Daniel Bryan a hell of a concerto. Wild eyes, looking as he does. He then goes towards Roman Reigns, because now it's Roman Reigns' turn for a concerto. Jey Uso appears out of nowhere, absorbs the beating on behalf of Roman Reigns. Roman's had time to recover, spears Edge to the ground, and then he goes, oh, that concerto thing's a good idea. Puts a chair under Edge's face, reels back, concerto to Edge from Roman Reigns. And then Roman grabs Edge, drags him towards Daniel Bryan, drapes him over, pins them both. 1, 2, 3. The last shot we see of WrestleMania is Roman Reigns, still head of the table, having pinned both Edge and Daniel Bryan at the same time. A+. A+. This was an excellent main event. near perfect storytelling throughout as well. Everybody got some great moments in. There was moments where you thought anybody could win. The finish was just incredible. A friend of mine put out on Twitter that if you could imagine telling somebody maybe 5 years ago that WrestleMania 37 was going to end with Roman Reigns pinning Daniel Bryan and Edge at the same time, you'd be furious. This time you are furious, but for the right reasons. It's an A+. It's a great match. And a heel closes out WrestleMania on a night where the heels seem to have won the whole thing, intriguingly. So WrestleMania 37 Night 2. It's slightly down on Night 1. It's a B+ from me. There was a few things in here that dragged the grade down. I'm looking at you, Fiend and Randy Orton mainly. And just the matches themselves, whilst they were really good, they weren't excellent like they were the night before. There was a real different feeling about Night 2 of WrestleMania, and I've been pondering it, and I think what it is that like Night 1 was the first showing back in front of crowds. There was a real celebration about it. And this felt more like, all right, let's get back to business. So it's kind of, Night 1 was ecstatic, Night 2 was emphatic. It's the best way I can describe it to you. And now I think about it, I kind of get it. I kind of get it. WWE want to get their ducks in a row. Now we've celebrated the return of fans and stuff for WrestleMania. They kind of go, right, this is the direction that we're going in. And it's a good chance for them to just dip their head above the water and see who people like, who people don't, because they're going back to the Thunderdome from tonight. So they get a sense of who people love and who people don't love. So overall, though, like a WrestleMania as an entire weekend, it was excellent. Like, I genuinely loved being a wrestling fan this weekend. There was lots to enjoy. And even the stuff I didn't enjoy, it's whatever. The stuff I did enjoy highly outweighed it. It was a good weekend to be a wrestling fan as far as I'm concerned. And you know what? You can't predict the weather, and nor can you predict WrestleMania. That's how we're ending it, Tom. Yes, it is. That's how we're ending it. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.